Hi. So this is episode 2 for Reconnected Humanity. So in the last episode, we spoke about what the current state of society is and what's really needed. Um, and again, the issue we had come across was that most people have cognitive empathy, where they know, well, we should be, good people, we should care, but in times of high stress, that goes out the window. So what I mentioned is felt empathy. It's called affective empathy. And there's no there's currently no plan of action to develop affective empathy. It's essentially like either you're born with it, you're raised with it. We know sociopaths, psychopaths exist, but we don't have the exact mechanism of how they become the way they do. So what can we do about that? Right? There should be something that we can do about that. So we're gonna talk about, okay, what can we do? So there are two things that are required. It's easy for someone to just talk about, okay, why don't we just be more empathetic and be more caring? But it's kind of like learning a new language, right? As children, we are exposed to our native language. We learn the word mama, we see how our parents speak, and then we learn those languages from our parents, from society, similar to behavior. Behavior is also learned from the society we're in. And when you may have like cognitive defect, in the sense you may have dyslexia or some other language issue where words get jumbled up and you don't know how to spell properly, you don't understand numbers. Similar things happen when you don't understand behaviors. Now, the basic premise of what's needed to develop empathy, they're um, building blocks. Just like with any language, you learn your alphabets first. Using the alphabets, you string them together to make words that have meaning. Those words can be strung together to make sentences. You learn syntax and grammar to be able to, add nuance to your sentences, and we communicate with, our fellow human beings. So when it comes to emotion and empathy and like reconnecting with our own humanity, the basic needs are: one is clarity of mind, and the second one is a mind body connection. Now, we all talk about, oh yeah, we all have clarity of mind. All have a mind, we all have a body. So what do you mean by a mind body connection? It's about essentially imagining our body is a ship. Now you are the captain of that ship, you are not the ship. If you think you're the ship and the winds are blowing left and right and you just blow with the winds and you're like, oh, the problem is the wind, you have this external locus of control because the wind is blowing that way, I have no other option, but the ship has to go that way. What's going to end up happening? The ship's going to get shipwrecked. You need to understand that you are the captain on that ship, and you need to learn how to use the ropes on your ship. At what point do I lower the sail? At what point do I raise the sail? How do I use the rudder? When you can be the captain of your ship, that's when you have a plan. And like, I'm leaving from port A, I want to go to port B. Here are the wind conditions. And even if the wind conditions change, I know how to get to port B because I'm a good captain and I know how to navigate and like essentially manipulate my the sheets on my raft to get me to point to port B, right? So we essentially need to get mastery of our mind, and that goes into the whole mindfulness meditation space. There's a lot of mysticism involved, a lot of like right brain, logic brain people are like, oh, that's just woo woo, right? Like, I'm not gonna put on yoga pants, sit in this like, do an what asquia, is that what it said? Basically just sit there and say om a number of times. It's about demystifying it and talking about it from the scientific perspective. What is meditation and what is mindfulness and how we come to it? So let's talk about essentially human evolution, just evolution in general. So when you look at more low level animals in terms of like l- evolution of nature, this is a very kind of immature drawing of a jellyfish. So the way a jellyfish's nervous system works, they have a neural net. So these are your nerve cells or axons, and yeah, I'm gonna just yeah, it's basically a net. It's like a network, right? Your dendrites, your axons, they all just kind of meshed. It's a mesh. So the way this mesh works, it's a very low level. Think of it as in computation. When you look at AI, we talk about the neural net, even in artificial intelligence terms, right? The way that works is it's essentially a if then statement. So if you are like a coder, you know what this means. So I see, your anglerfish approaching me. So I am very good at drawing. I the jellyfish, see, oh no, there's a threat. So the jellyfish, go that way. I just swim away. It's a very simple, simplistic thinking model because there's no brain. It's just a neural net. Over a period of time, we went from being, or life went from being primitive, just water based, to becoming land based, to becoming flight based. We had archaeopteryx, and then it became mammalian. It actually became vertebrates. So what happened at vertebrates is this neural net then started coalescing, and then we got a spinal cord. So like lizards have spinal cords, anything that is a vertebrate, right? So they have some sense of having a brain, a spinal cord, you have limbs, you have your digestive system, and this could be any kind of vertebrate. Over a period of time, then basically you still have a mesh, but you have this neural net section. Basically, like in your limbs, you have a neural net. In some aspects of your body, you have a neural net, but then you have your central spinal cord that pushes that data to your brain, and your brain becomes a computational device. It's If I use a computer, for instance, we have a chip which does all the processing and computation, and that's your brain. With humans, so what's the difference between humans and other primates? um our brains are I'll try to get a diagram in the next episode. We have what's called a large prefrontal cortex compared to orangutans or baboons or chimps, and that is really where we do our logic thinking, what we talk about as logic thinking. And that's different from being a neural net, which is very reactive. We still have a neural net in us, and that's what we call an autonomic nervous system. So an autonomic nervous system is you touch a hot plate and your body instantly recoils, and after the fact you register the sensation of ouch, that felt hot. It's not a I touch a hot plate and then that sends a message to my brain saying this plate is hot, then brain sends a message back saying move finger. That doesn't happen. It's very automatic. Humans, if we are able to develop a sense of using our prefrontal cortex, we can kind of tripwire being reactive in more emotional situations. So the reason we need, like in clarity of mind and mind body connection, historically in a very Eurocentric, scientific and logical community, there's this thought that emotions interfere with clear thinking, and that because we shouldn't engage in emotions. And that's only because we haven't mastered emotions. We don't know how to control emotions. We don't know how to regulate our emotions. And hence, this historical idea of, oh, we should hide emotions, and the basic concept of having like emotional empathy or affective empathy is then quelled because our emotions are quelled. We essentially, emotions, there's a critical reason why we have emotions. Emotions facilitate communication. Historically, humans, I mean, we think of, oh, as a society we progressed because we discovered iron, or we discovered the wheel, or we discovered fire. Actually, we discovered empathy. Empathy increases cooperation in group dynamics, and that increases survival rate. Literally, in human evolution, there was a gene that was introduced called they call it more colloquially known as the empathy gene, which is able to read facial expressions better and body language better. And using the combination of facial expression and body language, we can denote theory of mind. We can think, oh, what is this other person thinking or feeling? When I see a sad face, I'm like, that person's kind of sad. I wonder why. And then I can try to, that they're communicating something to me. Your emotions, even the one that you feel, are communicating a need. If you're jealous, then the need is that person has something that I want, and the need communicated to you by your emotional body is I want that thing, right? So emotions aren't bad, they're a method of communication even within yourself. So when we are able to understand or have clarity of mind and have a mind body connection, because when I spoke about why do we use the word feelings, we use the feelings for emotions because it's physically felt in our body. But if we don't have a mind body connection, then we can't feel emotions. We literally are unable to feel the emotions because we don't have a mind body connection. And how do you achieve the mind body connection? I'll have another episode. So I have like 5 minutes left, so I'm kind of go over a couple more things related to the two basic needs that I spoke about. When it comes to again the like emotions being a method of communication, they did studies on blind people who, it's not like emotions are something that we learn. We'll see somebody's face smile and then we smile. That's not necessarily it. It's something that's more core and driven in our DNA, because blind people who haven't seen the faces of any other human still have similar facial expressions when they feel an emotion. They still, their lips curve up when they're happy, their eyebrows furrow when they're upset, when they're angry. And they've seen an emotional expression is consistent across cultures. Even if we did studies in remote villages, like remote areas of human occupancy, where the tribes that have never interacted with any other tribe or any other human, they still have similar facial expressions for similar emotional range. So facial, it's something that is autonomic. When you're happy, you don't tell your face, hey, face, raise eyebrows and raise lips. It's something that happens automatically because you're sharing that experience. So humans are wired to be expressive and to read that expression. Humans are unique in the sense we can also tell, we can act, we can pretend. Other animals can't. So even if you look at orangutans or monkeys, chimpanzees, they also have facial expressions similar to humans. But humans have, it's the prefrontal, no, our motor cortex is what kind of controls our facial expressions or any other movement, any other muscle movement. Um, some of it's autonomic based on the emotion you feel. But you can also, that's what, people can act. They can pretend to be happy or pretend to cry. So that's why, like, interesting in humans, and that kind of leads to a space of manipulation. Like narcissists or psychopaths can pretend to have an emotion when they actually they don't neurologically feel that emotion. So their face may show happy, but like I said, an emotion is felt in your body. In their body, it's dead inside. Literally, it's dead inside. Like, because when you're happy, it's not just your face. Your chest feels hollow. You're breathing deeper. Your body is calmer. Your parasympathetic system is activated. That doesn't happen with psychopaths. So that's the differentiation. They can put it on their face, but their body is still not happy, right? The other thing is, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Emotions are basically a mechanism for communication, and we are biologically wired to have something called mirror neurons that were recently found about a few years ago. So all of the work I'm talking about is based in neuroscience articles that have come out in the past 10 to 15 years. They are discrete in terms of like they're separate entities, and I've read a bunch of stuff and I've puzzle pieced it together to make it make sense to me in how can we reconnect with our humanity and develop affective empathy, right? The idea being, like, say if you had like a muscle issue, right? If you were just not strong enough in your like upper body, you go to gym and get a gym membership. You have the tools and you'll have a trainer who will teach you, use this machine x number of times, do these many reps, you will grow muscle. Similarly, you can reconnect your nervous system. We have neuroplasticity, but you should want to have clarity of mind and a mind body connection, because that would enable our ability to understand our emotions, to emotionally regulate. And when we are connected with our own humanity, that's when you can step out and try connecting with another person. So in the next episode, I'm gonna scroll down. So in the next episode, we are going to tackle what I mean by clarity of mind and clarity of mind. And hint, it's basically like having a task manager. So if you were a computer and if you are a Microsoft PC and you had a bunch of tasks going on at the same time, it's about being able to open your task manager and choose what task to engage in. So it's about gaining that competency in like self managing our brain. I will see you all in the next episode. Bye.